Welcome to Spark Igniters. My name is Nelson and I'm the founder of the innovation agency weSpark. Spark Igniters is a podcast all about sharing positive, impactful messages, and they all come from inspiring totally extraordinary people. Please follow us and never miss an episode. Now let me introduce you to today's guest. Mike Cussell is a VR influencer and the creator of the famous Virtual Reality Oasis YouTube channel. His VR content has over 330,000 plus followers, and his videos have been watched over 50 million times. Hello Mike, it's really nice to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I just want to start with the first question. Which was your first VR experience?
Oh man. So my very first one was probably when I was about like 11 or 12. And I went to the Trocadero in London, which is like a big arcade, basically. Huge arcade in London. And they had the Virtuality there, which was one of the first like arcade VR machines. And it was super retro, really bulky. The headset was like super heavy. I think you only had one controller. And the experience was really basic, just a 3D space with like rough polygonal blocks, you know. It was a really bad experience. But, you know, at the time, Lawnmower Man had just come out, which was like a, you know, showing VR off. So it was exciting for me as a young kid. But I didn't get to try anything again after that up until the Oculus DK1 launched, which was my next step into VR. And then I got really excited because things had improved so much over a relatively short period of time. And it was at that point when I tried the Oculus DK1 that I knew this was going to be such a big thing in the future. And I was sold then. So although, you know, my first experience with the Virtuality, it was kind of like interesting. I wasn't sold on it then, but as soon as I tried the Oculus DK1, that's when the magic happened. And I knew that this was going to be a great thing in the future.
And how do you decide to get the Oculus, the first one?
So I think it was because like I had tried the Oculus DK1, and I wasn't even really aware of the HTC Vive back then. And I really liked Palmer Luckey. I thought he was like a really cool guy, so that's why I immediately went for the Oculus Rift CV1 as my first VR headset. And of course, when that first shipped, it didn't ship with any motion controllers or anything. They actually shipped with an Xbox controller, so you could only play seated experiences back then, like Eve Valkyrie, for example, and Lucky's Tale. But yeah, you know, that was great, you know, when that first arrived. But it was really when the motion controllers shipped, which was around a year later, that you know, it really started to get exciting and playing games like Superhot, where you could have real hand presence, where that was the moment I really fell in love with VR, when I could finally get my hands in there.
Okay, that's really nice, because my next question will be, you know, if you had any other moment apart from this one where you felt, wow, VR is becoming this thing that I imagined before, or it's going somewhere. Is there any other moment that you try something and you told yourself, wow, this is it. This is the technology that's gonna change things?
Yeah, I think for me, you know, like playing games is great. You know, playing games is super fun. But it's when you do social VR, the magic for me really happens. You know, when you meet up with a friend in the virtual world and they've got hand tracking and you feel that presence, like you're going to go on an adventure with that person. And whether that be in like VR chat, you're just hanging around a campfire and you're just casually talking to all these people, all dressed up with their different avatars, or you're going into a game like Arizona Sunshine with your friend and you're taking on like a zombie army together. You know, it's those moments that are really magical for me. And I think, you know, some of the first ones were with my friend Nathy, who's also like a VR creator, and we would meet up in like the Oculus toy box, I think it was, and it was just like throwing toys around and just like communicating with each other and having fun at the same time. It's experiences like that really stand out in my mind, and think, you know, social VR and this kind of like way of connecting with people remotely around the world and sharing an experience together is really going to accelerate VR in the future. It just needs more users right now, and once that happens, then I think that'll be, you know, the thing that people keep coming back to for more.
And I was checking this New York Times article where you were the VR expert for the author. And I believe that this statement was from you, saying that VR, in terms of the social relations and the experience in seeing others, is way different than Zoom. How could you explain this to somebody that never tried VR?
Yeah, of course, like, applications like Zoom and FaceTime are great ways to connect people remotely around the world. And I used to use that to connect with my parents who lived, abroad. But the thing with VR is, you really feel the sense that that person is with you. Like you can see, I know I can see you on this 2D display now, but of course, if you were standing next to me in like a virtual pub, for example, and, I could see you moving your hands and your head gestures and everything, and especially with eyes moving around as well. Although they're not fully, they don't track your eyes at the moment, and it will be a technology that will be, a mainstay in plenty of headsets going forward in the future. But they do a pretty good job of like roughly working out where your eyes would be looking. And it's that moment where you look into their eyes and their hands are moving and their body's moving around, that you really feel like you're in the same place together. And that really adds to that connection together and helps build relationships, even though you could be thousands of miles away. And I think, that is really the beauty of VR right now, and where it will really, like I said, shine in the future.
Yeah, so I have a little like question, and I'm super curious. I am sure that you haven't bothered a lot of people into VR. I mean, you convinced me. I was watching your videos right before buying my first headset. Did you ever convince or get your parents into using VR more than a single time?
No. Like my parents and my wife, they've all tried it, of course. They understand what I'm doing. And even my best friends, to a certain degree, who are all pretty serious gamers, they've all tried it and they all really enjoyed the experience, but they're just not willing to invest the money in a headset right now, just because they don't feel like the content for them is there yet, and I get that, from my friend who's a really serious gamer. He just doesn't see, these really huge story-driven games in VR right now. So I kind of get it, but when he tries it, he obviously loves it. But he's just holding off. And same with my parents and my wife. My wife loves playing Beat Saber, and anything Harry Potter related, she's in it and she'll try it. But she won't like jump in again to just try the everyday stuff.
Yeah, and talking about everyday stuff, have you ever entered VR or joined VR for just 100% for work, would you say?
The thing is, I'm in a really unique situation, right? I get to play VR as a job, so part of it is work, but of course I'm always having fun, because if I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't do it in the first place. But yeah, sometimes it can be a long day. You have to shoot a certain part of a game or something like that, and you've already played it for like hours and hours on end, and it's really hot. But no, I'm always having fun. So although it is work. And sometimes I have to push myself to do it. Once I'm in, I'm always having fun, and that's the beauty of doing this as a full-time job. It's a fun and very privileged position to be in.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna just tweak the question a little bit more. Have you ever joined, instead of not for doing a video for your channel or for testing a product, but more, I don't know, did you ever have like a business meeting in VR where you will discuss, I know, that the content that you're gonna feature or something in this direction?
I think the closest that I've come to something like that is where we do a podcast called F Reality, where we talk about all the weekly VR news every Saturday, live with my friends who are also content creators in the VR space. And a lot of people were requesting that we did like a meetup in VR. So we arranged that, and we met up with a lot of fans of the channel in Alt Space, and we had a little area that was created for us, a little party bus. And it was just a great way for fans who enjoyed the show to actually come and meet us in real life and just kind of hang out with us and ask us questions. So yeah, I think that's probably the closest thing that I've done to that. But, I also have a Discord community that I regularly try and play games with, and, it's nice for them to meet up with someone that they enjoy watching and then play a game with them. They really enjoy that. So I try and do that as much as possible to kind of, keep the community going.
Cool. And that's super cool. So I just have two last questions that I want to ask, unless something comes up in the meantime.
Sure.
And yeah, by the way, I just noticed about this second channel, about this podcast today. So I subscribed. Now I have a lot of
Thank
new
you.
content to check.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna go directly into this like sort of meetup that you did inside of our space to check it out. How many people were there? Just as a little question in between.
I think there was like 20, 30 people that joined us. And at one point, the show was even streamed to big screen every Saturday. So people could actually watch the podcast in VR with 8 other people and just like kind of chat about the show while they were watching it. So that was really cool. Although we've stopped doing that right now, but it's something that we might do again in the future. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting way of doing it. Having a VR podcast actually in VR. That was kind of fun.
Cool. And I told you this is the second time that I'm interviewing someone as this new series of podcast. And when I was thinking about what to ask you before, of course, like maybe half of the questions came here during the discussions, the other half I had prepared. But it occurred to me that it's impossible to think, to enter your mind completely. And sometimes, I believe, not even sometimes, maybe every single time, it is super probable that I will even forget maybe the most important thing that you wanted to say. So maybe you have a question that you think I should have asked you, and then you can just like tell me and answer it already.
Sure, sure. I think maybe a good one is like, what do you think is important in VR right now? Or what do you think is like, especially in the gaming scene, what do you think is important right now? Or what do you think is really exciting? What's really exciting in the gaming scene? That would be a good question. So yeah, like right now, obviously, standalone with the Oculus Quest is like the most exciting thing right now. The Quest has really changed the landscape of the VR industry, really, particularly in the gaming scene. Previously we were all using headsets connected to PCs, and when the Quest came along, you could break free from that. You're completely standalone now. You don't need a PC to drive it. It's all built into the headset itself, although you have the option to connect it to a PC if you want to. And really, that's driven VR adoption into a more mainstream audience. People that necessarily wouldn't even have considered VR before are now jumping on board and really enjoying it. And you can see from, the game sales and the numbers that have been disclosed that it's a massive success. And I think this is where the industry is going, more towards the standalone market. Oculus are doubling down. They've got a new headset coming that seems to be a new Quest. So that's very exciting indeed. So yeah, I think, in the future, we'll see more competition from other manufacturers, trying to make something standalone. And yeah, I think it's a really exciting time, especially with all these new users jumping in and discovering VR and what it has to offer for the first time. That's really magical. But for me, who's been in it from the beginning, from the PC space, it's kind of a little bit sad to see the PC side being neglected a little bit. But, I think overall it's great for the industry, and I think it's going to be, sustainable, in the future with standalone. And I think, a lot of developers are developing apps specifically for the standalone market because they know that they're going to have success there. So, I think it's an exciting time. It's an interesting shift, but I think it's an important one to move the industry forward.
Nice. And to anybody in the audience watching this video right now, anybody that is considering maybe at least buying that first headset to check what sort of new business opportunities they could make out of it, what will be your message to them?
100% the Oculus Quest. That's where everything is going on right now. All the innovation, all the games, they're all coming to Quest. That's where the audience is. That's where the consumers are right now. So if you're making something, try and make it for the Quest. I know it's hard because a lot of experiences you have to trim down or make them, visually downgrade them to get them to work on a standalone mobile processor. But definitely that's where the audience is at. So if you can make something for the Quest, then that would be my recommendation for sure.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much, Mike. This is awesome. I cannot wait to publish it by the time that everybody's hearing this. It already happened. So,
awesome.
Super cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. It was a pleasure to be on there, and it's nice to be on the receiving end of some questions rather than asking them for a change. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Cool, perfect. So we'll end this video. Bye bye, everybody.
Cheers. Thank you very much. See you later.